We much regret Dato KL Tan, the president of FATA and MATA, sent his apologies today because he couldn't join this session. It was due to the height of the COVID-19, which we have here in Sabah, which have about 200 over cases right now. So during this current CMCO, which was imposed only yesterday in Sabah, Dato KL Tan was urged to handle the new enforcement. So hence he can't be with us today. But nevertheless, he will be replaced by his Secretary General of MATA and also Asian Tourism Association, Mr. Nigel Wong, who hold a master degree in computer science in Monash University, Australia. And then at the same time, we have Your Excellency, Professor Shahbaz Khan, Your Excellency, Mr. Sangvar, Conservation and Development of Angkor World, and we have Mr. Yap Lee Singh, the CEO of the Malaysian Association of Hotels. We have Mr. Nima, Member of Parliament Bhutan, Ms. Anna Agafona, co-founder of WeResort.io. So before we start, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to use your hand raise button. Fabian, that is our CTO, will handle them, and I will ask your question on behalf later. So thank you. Let's start. Your Excellency, Professor Shahbaz Khan. Professor Shahbaz Khan in Australia holds a Bachelor of Science honour in Civil Engineering in 1990 from the University of Engineering and Technology, Lahore, Pakistan, a Masters of Science in Water Resources Technology and Management, 1992, and a doctorate in civil engineering in 1995 from the University of Birmingham, United Kingdom. A graduate diploma in Applied Geographic Information Science and a grad certificate in Information Technology from Charles Sturt University in Wagga Wagga, Australia in 2003. Since 28 August 2015, Professor Shahbaz has been appointed as the Director of the UNESCO Regional Science Bureau of Asia and the Pacific, and UNESCO representative for Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Timor-Leste. Professor Khan, my first question goes to you. In fact, that there are less tourists visiting UNESCO World Heritage Site. Is it good or bad? You have prepared a nice presentation to share with us. So the floor is yours, Professor Shahbaz.
Okay, thank you very much, dear Janet and dear Marceline, for inviting me. I'm going to share a presentation which is going to focus on you need to let me share. The host has to enable me to share the screen. Can you please ask to let me share my screen?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Fabian.
Okay, Fabian, okay. You have to let me do it. Okay. Right. Still waiting. So I will be talking to you about the virtual reality, what World Heritage Sites have been doing. I will be also mentioning some other very important sites which are UNESCO sites, including, okay, now I can do it. Wonderful. Okay. So there we go. Okay, Industrial Revolution 4.0. Certainly is very important part of today's discussion, and especially virtual reality, artificial intelligence, the power of mining the data. But this was not happening just because of COVID. So I'm sure with colleagues from Angkor Wat and other places, World Heritage Sites, they have been doing a lot of wonderful work. There are many interesting aspects of virtual reality which have been used. We have a special center in China which has been working on imagery, 3D modeling. So many of those ideas have been very handy. I will also be showing you some virtual museums. And as a scientist myself working in these areas from a science angle, from virtual reality, and also bringing data mining, these things became very handy during this time of COVID. Of course, we are still struggling. So let me take you through some of UNESCO's work and how it is helping during this time of COVID. And of course, tourism industry has been affected very badly. So we have to work together to bring things back to the new normal. So virtual heritage, if I can call it, virtual heritage is heritage which is using virtual and augmented reality. And it has been used for many aspects before. Those aspects of our heritage which are very fragile, for example, in Altamira in Spain. So how do we make those aspects accessible, but at the same time don't damage them? So that's the work before COVID, but certainly very important. Showing places where access is not possible. For example, the aerial view of a monument present original aspects of the archaeological sites where there are ruins in remain, and there are examples from Greece as well as from India. So certainly virtual reality was already in existence. Augmented reality, which brings virtual reality along with the imagery, those ideas have been there for quite some time. So also reconstitution of what was in the past, very importantly. So here you have some examples where you can see what is present. And if we constitute and go back into the past, how these things look like. So here is an example from Hampi in India and the Athens. Very, very beautiful aspects which can be reconstructed virtually through virtual reality. But now, if we cannot visit those places, we can virtually go and feel and understand and be part of the landscape. That's the idea. And this can be also applied to, as you know, in heritage, we have the cultural heritage, we have also the natural heritage, and we have the mixed heritage. So in case of the natural heritage, so to have a virtual tour which can link also with the aspects of biodiversity, for example. Okay, and during this COVID time, things are happening, and you have given an excellent example of Australia. Also here we have examples from ASEAN countries where a lot of virtual tourism activities have been taking place. How can we travel with the locals virtually? So there has been an online theater. There are also examples from Bhutan about a traditional home and meet people. There are examples from Mountain Village in Malaysia. And there is an example here from Thailand. So, and from Israel. So people want to visit these very important heritage sites. They want to be part of the local landscape, the experience of linking with the local tradition, with the culture. And as you said in the beginning, because people are so hospitable, we need to continue. This is the hope that brings us forward in these difficult times. So this example of the Mountain Village in Malaysia is a site full of traditions. This is a recent example, as this was Thursday, October 1st, and a group of people up to 10. There is also a charge per person. So you can see here when this particular picture was taken, only 3 tickets were left. Some of the previous ones were already sold out. So people are willing to pay. They are willing to go and link with the tradition, meet with the people, understand what they're doing. So there is a lot of hope in virtual reality to be able to virtually meet and be part of that. So I will also be showing you the virtual festivals which have taken place over a period of not a couple of hours, but over days. Also, there has been games which we have been promoting. This is an example of a project with City Foundation in Indonesia, where we have been working together with the museums and the games, and how we can look into spice exploration, the spice related routes and those kind of ideas. So certainly we are very innovative as a human race, and culture and tradition has to be continued to be enjoyed and gives the hope for a better future. Certainly COVID will be over. Let me take you to another aspect of UNESCO work. So World Heritage Sites are important. We also have UNESCO Global Geoparks. This is a very wonderful part of our work, which brings the natural sciences with the places of special geotourism. Like, for example, in Malaysia, you have Langkawi. And there's so many interesting things about Langkawi, which I can speak forever. I'm going to take you to Rinjani, which is in Indonesia. And this particular area, Rinjani Lombok, I'm sure some of you know, is a global geopark. And this particular celebration is with the government of West Nusa Tenggara and the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy in Indonesia. So this particular geotourism event was to show local cultural performances and to bring a wide array of local products and tour packages. And this happened over a period of time. So here you have 2 days virtual festival. I also gave a presentation, of course, from a point of view of what global geoparks mean, but also at the same time, there were a number of cultural aspects which one could look into the tour package itself over a period of 2 days. So it is to really recover and support tourism during this time of COVID and give hope to people, the possibility for the world to visit Ranjani Lombok virtually, contribute to discussions, and to also have an experience when travel and tourism is in trouble. And during this time, set a standard for an innovation. So this is UNESCO Global Geopark. And our work also related to, of course, the other examples I give you to the World Heritage and Biosphere Reserves is very important. For example, in Malaysia, you have Tasik Chini, Crockers Range. Those are very interesting places, which you can actually use products like Google Earth, and you can see many interesting things there. So there was a webinar which brings together the global network from Asia Pacific of geoparks. There was a lot of interest from the universities, for example, University of Sunshine Coast, Australia, on the lessons learned on geotourism, understanding the special geology, wildlife, understanding how can we promote such events, and the different exhibition of the products, and how can we continue to also link with the other aspects, like as I said, the Biosphere Reserve. So here is Sale Moyo Tambora Biosphere Reserve. So people coming together, sharing experiences, and during this time of COVID, bringing hope. So this particular event, as I said, from 15 to 16 July, very, very successful. And it also brought the leadership from the local government. It also brought people working in media, people working in virtual reality, people who could bring these things with the kind of experience one would like to gain. Here are some of those special virtual geo tours which were possible. So there are 7 options which were available. Those tours, like looking into the complete eruption history of Ranjani. So educational, also feeling the experience, a walk to remember the area in terms of its ancient history, the cultural landscape, in terms of watching the birds, looking into the virtual tour of the lake itself, but also very importantly, looking into volcanic eruptions. So something exciting, very important from the point of view of geological history, learning experience, but also enjoying the landscape itself. Lastly, I would also like to share with you what is available on UNESCO's website globally. In this time of COVID, exploring World Heritage from home. With UNESCO, this website offers you many of UNESCO World Heritage sites which can be virtually visited. So here you can see the actions related to COVID-19 and exploring these sites. So here you have an example of Jeju Island in the Republic of Korea. So there are many aspects which can be explored through virtual reality, and there can be interesting experiences, and many other World Heritage sites are there. Lastly, let me also bring to you the virtual museums. Virtual museums also have been using virtual reality. So here we have a couple of examples which combine the software engineering in understanding the underwater cultural heritage. This is the Bermuda shipwrecks, and one can do a virtual flight through Google Earth, go right into those areas, go deep into the shipwrecks themselves. And there can be examples of the overland area, like this is an example from Mexico, again available on UNESCO website. And the level of detail is amazing. One can go virtually into the shipwrecks, can explore different bits of it, be part of it. So ICT is the power of data, the power of virtual reality, bringing experience which we could not have otherwise. But also to go to see the underwater cultural heritage areas or those shipwrecks must be very, very difficult, even during the times when the COVID was not there. This is a news article which I wanted to share with you. Virtual tours can be disappointing, but not the ones through these 5 famous UNESCO sites. So this is available article which you can Google from a global traveler's point of view, and you can see there are similar ideas as we are discussing today. If the virtual reality is done in a nice way, the right kind of data is packaged, the experience of the individuals is combined with what is really special. As in World Heritage sites, we say outstanding universal value. So we bring that forward, we link with the people, we make people understand the special culture and the experience with the people themselves. So from UNESCO, the message is stay at home, share our heritage, share our culture, and we invite you to visit UNESCO World Heritage sites, UNESCO Global Geoparks, as well as our biosphere reserves. And that's where the virtual tours, many of them are for free. But I also gave you the example today where people are willing to pay and they are booking out those tours. With that, I thank you all. And I stop my presentation here. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Professor Shahbaz, for a very interesting sharing through your presentation. Now I feel like I want to go and visit all these places already. Right. Okay.
Professor Shahbaz, I have a question. How do they make pay for a virtual tour? How do they, in fact, get these people to pay for a virtual tour? Is it because normally most of the virtual tour that you see are for free, but I guess that they do it in very specific area that has never been visited before. Do you know how it has been promoted, or what is the content of this kind of?
Yeah. So this example from the mountain village, Malaysia, which I gave you, is around $15. People are willing to pay, and only 3 tickets were left. So, and the other examples I gave you from Southeast Asia, they were already sold out. So there is a market there. Certainly, people are excited. They want to be able to experience these places. And of course, you know that with the virtual reality, goggles which are available for our ability to see things. So there is a lot which is available now, which excites. So of course, social media, the role of the social media, the Facebook, the Instagram, all of that plays a very big role. That's, in my view, very important. We have to blend the virtual reality possibilities, what is available, with the power of communication. And we need to continue to link with those people who are interested in these places. And it's not only virtual tour for now. In my view, these virtual tours actually prepare people to be anxiously waiting when things will be normal and they can go and visit these places and link with these people. So certainly there are examples. So not everything is for free. What is on UNESCO website, those are free, but there are commercial virtual reality tour providers. I gave you the examples to begin with.
So there is a market for a paid virtual tour?
Certainly. And in this presentation, if you look into second, third slide, they are already sold out. So
Crazy.
very hard to get in. That's how things are. People really want to see the world. And while the flights may not be available or COVID is stopping us, but our imagination is with these special places, with the special people, what world stands for in terms of our heritage. The world heritage is for all of us, wherever it is. So that's the amazing part of this kind of insight, that it's not for free. People are willing to pay.
I never thought this could really happen, especially in Southeast Asia and Asia. That's something very, very new. So it's really a new dynamic for the tourism industry, and also a new dynamic for the education and World Heritage sites. It's a new. Do you think it will stay after the COVID, this kind of virtual tour, or will it disappear?
It was already there even before COVID.
Okay.
Virtual reality is a reality. We are moving so fast on the Industrial Revolution 4.0 in terms of also the artificial intelligence, in terms of power of computing, which is available on our mobile phones alone. These mobile phones are more powerful than the supercomputers of the past. So our ability to see videos and the virtual material so fast also through the internet, like to have this speed of internet, which we still may be frustrated in many of the countries, but is much, much faster than what was the year before, 2 years before. In our lifetimes, we have seen quantum changes. And because of the technology which is there, and our region, Asia Pacific, the advancement of the internet, the advancement of ability to gather data through satellites, assemble data through satellites, and GIS, remote sensing technologies, but also the publicly available data. There's so much available which can be utilized, and the people who are willing to contribute towards these efforts. So certainly it's a time where we have learned so much from the past. Things have been moving more in a faster and positive way for many of these areas. But of course, our heart goes with those artisans, those people who are working in these areas. They are not able to get those jobs. While we are able to promote the education, the personal experiences, the virtual reality, but the people in these areas, the local indigenous people who are doing excellent tourism, the hoteling people, they must get their share of the economy. They are one of the worst affected people in terms of all the socio-economic challenges we are facing.
Professor Shahbaz, last question. This means that, in fact, all the travel agents could propose this virtual tour worldwide with a specific portfolio, with a specific guided tour, and in fact also alleviate poverty, because they could give back and jobs in small communities by doing virtual tour.
Certainly, but we need to very carefully make sure it's not a computer game.
Yes, of
It
course.
must be based on facts and figures. It must be carefully tied in with the history and what is present and what are the special things which the local people are doing. But eventually, if some people were doing special culture related products and they are not able to sell them, how do we make sure those products can still reach those people who are interested? That's where maybe we should also combine with online shopping and those ideas, where the artisans can bring their products forward. But eventually, let's hope COVID situation gets more and more towards the normal, and people go back to these people, and the affected artisans get their fair share of the economy. So while we enjoy our heritage, we make sure the people who are doing all this excellent work, they are not left behind. That's really the part of what we are trying to do as part of the sustainable development goals. And the tourism and hoteling industry is a very big part towards sustainability efforts around the world. So we must not forget those people who have been affected very badly, who are far away from the capitals. Usually these sites are far away, and they're really struggling for their livelihoods. So virtual reality, promote more, bring all the technologies and experiences, but we must continue to link with those people who are far away from all of us.
Thank you very much. Janet, I'll let you the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Marceline. Okay, our second question goes to Your Excellency, Mr. Sangvar. Okay, from 2009 to 2012, Mr. Sangvar was the team leader of the Ministry of Tourism, Cambodia. And since 2013, he's the director of the Conservation and Development of Angkor World Heritage Site. He holds a master's degree in Heritage Management from the Australian National University and a bachelor degree in Tourism and Travel Service Management from the Gleon Institute of Higher Education. Mr. Sangvar, in your opinion, what do you think about the current tourism industry in Cambodia? And I have two more questions. And then if you have created a VR film of Angkor Wat, how and where did you get the content? And the third one is, what do you think about using VR to promote inbound and outbound tourism in Cambodia?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Janet, for giving me and giving us, I would say, the opportunity to share with all the participants here the situation in Cambodia and our activity regarding the VR or AR technology back in Angkor. So question one was about the situation of tourism in Cambodia, in Angkor. Obviously, I think COVID has created many negative impact that I would see to the world. First of all, in terms of the human life. Secondly, I would say in terms of the economy. And unfortunately, in some country, in terms of sometimes the stability or the politics of the country. For us, I would say that through the leadership, we of course, unfortunately, do have impact on the economy, but we still have managed to have peace and stability throughout the whole country, which I think is a very important base for development or to guarantee the livelihood of the people back in here. So tourism, of course, I think many cause to the international closure of the borders. I think many countries, I would say almost whole country around the world, are being impacted from the traveling. Of course, people cannot come anymore. So definitely for sites like Angkor, in where I would say most of the profit of the income was generated from the international visitors, right? In fact, Cambodian coming to visit Angkor is actually free. You know, we do not pay any fee to visit Angkor. So obviously, in terms of economy, locals contribute, of course, to the local economy in terms of accommodations, in terms of food and entertainment back in the city. But looking at the international visitors is, of course, a bigger basket where tickets to visit the temple are being purchased, and we talk about hundred of millions of dollars a year coming from international visitors, right? So from the COVID, from us, it started, of course, from February, we really see a very strong decrease. So about at the beginning, where we look at the 98%, 97% of decrease, we of course did not close the park, because it is not only a tourist site, but it is also a religious site for local people to come and pray, right? This decrease has been mitigated more and more, I would say, from February to now, where we do also have international visitors coming to the park as well. But it's obviously not what we used to see. I think it is not what the whole, I would say most of the world heritage sites where a few years ago, we often read on the news, mass tourism, overcrowded, impacting quality sites and so on, right? So obviously the topic is not there now, but it's more how do we try to survive, or how do we take this situation to still manage the site, and making sure that the safety of visitors, right? So in term of the technology, I would say the technology, right? The technology with Onco, before heading to VR and AR, I'd like to remind that for our site, it is actually a living site. There's people, about 100,000 people still living in site. So obviously, it is something that we have to take into account. One thing that to share along with you, for example, to have this technology, we have to look at the communication facilities. So a few years ago, we did not have antenna, for example, right? Antenna into the park was a big topic in why we build a high antenna that could actually impact the OUV of the site. But obviously, with technology now, we managed to discuss with UNESCO, because all our project and work is being reported and discussed to UNESCO, in where we come up with, I would say, a win-win situation, where we would have antenna, but with a camouflage, right? Because if you put antenna too far from the temple, it won't be as efficient or useful to the users, right? So how to be close to the temple is, of course, to have antenna, but camouflage into trees, right? So this actually is, I would say, one of the base to have a 4G or even 5G, in where we started to discuss having 5G maybe in the park, to actually allow better communications or AR or real-time activity, right, to the park. From that on, our technology also go back to LiDAR. LiDAR is, of course, one of the base also of AR. It was a technology used by the military in terms of searching the submarines back in the I think 80s or 70s for the military. But of course, this technology is now available to the civilian, in where we actually flying helicopters to do scans, to scan through the trees, right? Because what LiDAR do, it just go through the trees and see what are under it. So from that, actually, we have discovered some cities, like we maybe have seen in the ancient cities that was hidden under the forest, or some area in the park where we could not really see what's the ground feel are like, right? So all of this actually has helped us not only to the conservation, but also to the development. And of course, development refers to tourism, right? Tourism from the basic form of tourism, where people are traveling and visiting the site physically, but also tourism as a new form of digital, as a AR technology, VR technology, going along with also the 4.0 revolutions, in which I think we have also to surf on this new trend. So now looking before going to AR activity, I would say in terms of COVID time, right? In terms of COVID time, maybe to share some activity with you, because I think AR in this topic was made to how to help to sustain during the COVID. What we have managed to do is really to transform this hard time into opportunity, because we have realized one phenomenon, one trend that have never been seen before, is that the local people living in Siem Reap, meaning in the town where the temple are, but also the people in different provinces are coming more and more to Angkor, to the park, for entertainment, for recreations, right? They're not coming really to visit the temple, but they're coming as a park, because we are a very big park with a lot of forest and temple and trails. So people come to do bicycle, people coming with the kids, the family, to walk around with the dogs and so on. And this has exploded into for the country until that bicycle in the capital city was out of stock, because people was, of course, in a way quarantined for some time. Maybe here is yes, the fact to stay home, but I think it's also the fact that we do have a very low, in a way, rate and strong also rules in terms of social distancing and against this, the COVID. But we see that the sports is and the people trying to go out is trend as coming up here as well. So in a way, if you look at the economy of tourism, despite the international tourism going down really, and is suffering really the economy in town, right? But the domestic tourism is also going up. So that is, I think, here one of the, not one, but the most complexity of COVID. Is, of course, one side you have the health, the safety, the life of people that you have to go against not spreading the COVID, right? But the other side, we also have to look at the economy, right? In terms of like how will people survive if it's if it is closed, for example, if you're impacted from the tourism industry, despite of course the national government subsidize the taxes facilities and the assistance to the most impacted people, but once again, I think this is not a formula for every country, but I would say based on the site as well, because our site is very broad, it's very big, so people can spread around quite easily. And looking at the with the Ministry of Health regulations and actions, so we do feel also that domestic tourism is also one way to promote, to assist, to help the local businesses that would also in a way suffer from this COVID. So looking at the AR and VR, I say AR because of course both of them goes together, right? We did have one, I would say, one experience with that, and I think with our case here is something particular as well, in where we have also to look at the social aspects of any new project. And of course, as we know here, tourism for us is a goal is to also alleviate the poverty. So looking at the impact and the benefits that would bring to the local community, but also the city itself is also key to that. So what I mean by that is that a few years ago, about 10 years ago, when at the time there was not yet AR and VR, but there was maybe something similar in terms of technology, was the audio guides, right? The audio guides was at a time the same goal, I think for me, is the same goal in where you could explain the visitors on the history and so on the path. But because of the guides, the guides, people living, of course, from tourism, would actually feel that audio guides was a threat for them, right? Was the impact, was the threat, where visitor would not be depending on hiring guides anymore. They could hire a machine and listen to it, which my point of view is not really true, because audio guide is only a machine. It's not a human being that could explain, that could help you take photo, that could actually advise and so on, right? But the fact that the fear that was actually present into the industry, the audio guides did not really appear, right? Because the impact, the manifestation was too strong in where the investment did not dare to invest on that. But when you look at the AR, we actually had almost the same approach, but it was a very different reaction from the tour guides, right? In where I was there when we had meeting, because I organized and invited tour guides and presented a project of AR, and we do feel less fear, less threatening from a tour guide, because first of all, those VR that we actually worked with was not actually a sort of audio guide. It was not explaining what the temple are, but it was a complement. It was an extra supplement, right? An extra bonus, and where when the tour guide would explain, oh, look at this wall, look at these towers. It was built that way, where the elephants came bringing the stones with the technology, and the people was wearing this type of clothes and so on. So what VR would actually allow is that through your phone, through your phone, actually, you'll be able to either, of course, have a helmet, or without the helmet. Actually, with nowadays, you don't really have you don't need to have this helmet with your phone on, but you could hold your phone with you, basically, right? And from there, you would actually, of course, stand at the right spot, aiming to that direction, and put some image and video, of course, in animation, with the elephants, pulling the stones, with the sound of the artist walking on the stones, and so on, right? So based on this, the guys did not feel threatened, right? They was almost like happy, because they would actually be giving more joy to more clearly visual to the visitors, right? So, and of course, at the time also, we have the company also had sort of a benefit also to the tour guide, right? So X amount, for example, of the revenue would actually be assisting training or courses to the tour guides, right? So unfortunately, this project did not haven't seen the reality yet, because there is a lot of admin and contracts to be negotiated from the company and from our authority, right? But to respond to your question in terms of contents, how do we get the contents? Obviously, we took that seriously, and because our authority, we are government authority, we are the only authority in Cambodia to actually be in charge of the site, right? Of course, there's the Ministry of Tourism, but the Ministry of Tourism do not have the jurisdiction to actually certify contents or management in the park here. So we, of course, collaborated with the company in which they have actually shoot in indoor, about how how it was constructed or built, and we review it. We call up our experts, to say that, oh, the stone was not like that, or the way how you hit the hammer, the carve is not like that, and so is this way to pull the string, for example, right? So we review that, and we actually have to make sure they correct it, because without a clear, correct message, we cannot allow such a I would say false or misinformation to the millions of visitors, right? So I think it's something for me personally. I think AR VR is definitely a very convenient, is very useful tool, way to really bring knowledge, to really make people travel from where they are to see, not to see, I would say to almost see, to eventually see a representation, right? But not experience, not feel the sound or the smell, or the smile of the people, as you mentioned at the beginning, to help the industry. But it is definitely a tool that helps to the site, help any site to keep relationship, to start introductions of the site to people that unfortunately are not able to travel, because either from financial point of view, either from COVID point of view, or either from time point of view, right? You don't have time to go this place this year, so you might want to see first. So it could help people to choose the destination as well, right? So it's definitely to help a site to attract and to give introductions. But obviously, I think coming to visit the site, I think is still a primordial. I think AR or VR will never replace visitors being on one site, because first of all, we have to go back to the basic of tourism. The basic of tourism is, of course, to have people point A to point B to feel the experience, but also to bring benefits to the people, to the local economy, by staying long and by spending money, right? Of course, as a point of view, maybe as of visitors, they might not want to spend that much, but it is still part of their experience. You might spend something, you pay for it, right? It's part of it. When you go to cinema, you look at, you go to a roller coaster, you pay for the experience, and these expenditures has to go to the country that receives you, to the host country, because the impact is on the country environment, the social impact, the prices, and so on, right? So the local people has to get benefit from that. So AR, of course, might allow, as Dr. Khan mentioned earlier, the booking and so on, but the question is how much this multiplier effects would go to the farmers, would go to the people living on site here, right? So I think this is one point that we actually take into account, and I think experience that's to be on in the site is key, because it's you want people to experience more than just the site. You know, the food, of course. Unless in 20 years you can eat food and smell the food through phone and so on, but testing the food on your country, seeing the people, seeing the warmth of the country, I think is key. So it is not about against or AR or so on, but it really you have to see the value of AR, which is very high, which is very high potential for the next year to go. But we also have to look at AR as a tool that would actually should help to bring people to come to the real sites, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Excellency. It was a very, very comprehensive sharing as well. It was so informative. Thank you so much.